Thank you for tuning in to the Mantalk podcast. I am your host, Derek D. Brooks, aka the Man Coach. And we got another good one. Today. I got my good friend, my great friend. We only friends. We're not friends when NFL when the season starts. And he'll probably share some of that with you. But he's a Lions fan, and I'm a cheesehead, and so we don't see eye to eye.
I mean, for the record though, I mean, you ain't won nothing in a while either now. So usually my season end, in week 17, and yours end about week 18.
And that's the truth to that. That's another conversation because I don't even want to. It's still a sore topic right now.
Okay.
It's still kind of sore right now, kind of fresh. So help me welcome my good friend Antwan Phillips. I don't know whether to say attorney Antwan, my good friend Antwan, or the city at-large director for the city of Little Rock, Antwan.
How about just Antwan? Just Antwan.
Okay. Well, Antwan, man, what's happening, brother?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I appreciate what you do to keep the fellas engaged, keep us honest, keep us communicating, and appreciate the invite.
Man, I thank you for taking the time. I know your schedule is busy with all those hats that you wear, plus you're a husband. So that's an additional job description. And so I appreciate
that's the first job description, right?
That's the first one. So I appreciate you taking the time out today. Even though we snowed in, we didn't know we were going to be snowed in when we set this appointment, but it seemed like it was working out pretty good. Like I'll be here all week.
So what you telling me? You gonna have me back? Is that what you're saying?
There's a possibility. I got about 7 days to get you back locked in and bring you back. So there's a possibility that you could be on the show again, part 2 or something. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump right in, man. So tell us a little bit. I could give a bio, tell the fellas everything that I know about you, but I'm sure you're gonna be able to share that in your story. So tell us what your story is, man. How did you get from where you come from to where you are now? I don't want to spill it, so I'm gonna let you do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of story to tell. Definitely was not a straight line from 65th and Butler to where I am today. And you say how you get there, obviously faith, God's grace, people, family, friends, strangers, believing in me, and me believing in myself enough where other people would believe in me.
Talk more about that believing in you. I don't want to go over it. I don't want to skip over that because that's
so it's a little story to that. So it's part of the greater story. So I grew up, I lived all over Little Rock, Derek, and primarily Southwest. But in '97, I got 5 siblings on my mom's side, and we're all really spaced out. Like literally, my youngest sister is 29. My oldest brother is 50, right? So we got a lot of age gaps, and all of us are like 7 years apart. So by the time 97 rolls around, my 3 older siblings are already out the house. They're grown. So in the house is just me and my younger sister and my mom.
You got all the chores now.
Right. I'm in charge. You learn how to cook at an early age when your mama working all the time and you got a little sister.
Know all about
you become independent quick.
Yes, sir.
Especially in the 80s and the 90s. I don't know what these kids doing these days, but
microwave, brother. That's another whole story.
That's another whole topic. But I'm getting to your question about believing in yourself. So in '97, unfortunately, my mom passed away. She had ovarian cancer, and
sorry to hear that.
There were 2 things that happened because of that got to that belief moment. So my mom, I don't even know when she got diagnosed, but whenever she got diagnosed, it was too far along for them to really do anything. It was not what you call early detection by any means. But I'm 13, so they didn't share it with me and my younger sister because we too young, right? So I remember her taking me shopping, and we go to TJ Maxx, and it's 97. I'm in the 7th grade, and I go to TJ Maxx. I buy this white short sleeve button down, a tie-dye tie, and some olive green slacks. I'm about to kill the game at the winter ball, right?
You finna kill him.
I'm about to kill them. And then like a week before that winter dance, my mom says, my grades came out during that time. I had 3.6. 3.6, most of the time that's a pat on the back.
Bruh, yeah. I mean, coming from a 1.8 cumulative, that's a yeah. And that's
Yeah, usually that's a pat on the back. But my mom, the 9 weeks before that, I had 3.8. And she looked at me and said, "You're not going to the dance because your grades are dropping." And I remember saying to her, "You know how many people at my school wish they had 3.6? And I'm getting punished for a 3.6?" And I'm 13, I'm mad, I'm selfish, have no idea that my mom's sick. And then a couple months later, she passed away. And it took me a long time, Derek, to realize what she was teaching me was that you can do better. Like, don't settle for the 3.6 because that sounds good. Antwan, can do better. And it took me years to realize that. But then on a shorter scale, after my mom passed away, I moved in with my uncle. And we were in Southwest, and now I'm going to a different school. I'm in a different church. I'm with different friends. And sometimes the new guy, you the new guy. Everybody got all their cliques, and the girls got who they already like, and the boys who they already boys with.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to fit in. And I remember in 8th grade, Derek, I told myself, I said, man, if you believe in you, everyone else will. I don't know why I said that. I don't know if it was some girl I was trying to get at. I don't know if it was somebody I was trying to be friends with, but I just told myself, if you believe in you, other people will. And then it just started becoming a habit. And then that's the beginning of that story.
So, Twan, let me ask you this, because you brought up that was brilliant. Do you think that's not, for me, I believe that's where it all starts. Like believing in yourself. Because a lot of times, a lot of people say, a lot of men, because we're talking with men, a lot of brothers,
Right.
I just need somebody to cheer me on. And my whole process is if you ain't your biggest cheerleader, like if you can't cheer yourself on, then there's an issue. Then there's something. What are your thoughts on that?
No, that's absolutely right. Because I mean, obviously you get to a line where nobody likes the super cocky person, right?
Right.
But why do I care about you winning if you don't care about you winning?
My whole
Why
point.
why am I spending energy supporting you if you're not supporting you? Well, I'm gonna go to the game and watch you play when you like, man, I really ain't that good. Well, shoot, why I'm going then? You know what I'm saying?
How am I going? And I make sure I let the guys know that even in my coaching practice, I can't want this more than you.
Right.
I'm gonna provide you the tools, but you got to be able to want to work that thing so you can start winning. And so I
Absolutely.
can't be more invested in it than you. And a lot of men don't understand that. And we wait around on cheerleaders, and cheerleaders are great, but not all the time will you hear the cheers. So
But I mean, to extend that metaphor even more, Derek, the cheerleaders only show up at the game. If you're not believing yourself every day while you practicing,
and you know,
when you in the gym by yourself.
I ain't never seen one at practice. I've never seen a football cheerleader practicing while I'm practicing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that makes sense. So that's pretty dope, man. That's pretty dope. And so now where you are now, It's beautiful, and I'm sure mom will be proud. Tell us
Well,
about.
and this it all started with that, man. So that belief. So I had that belief in myself, and then I remember I got older, and I'm like, why do I have this in me? Why do I think I can? Things are supposed to work out for me. Like I can do better than this. Um, and then I realized she instilled that in me, and it just took me until I was grown to realize that's where it came from.
Yeah,
And then you start to build habits just like anything else. Everything I do, every time I go somewhere, people just see that or you feel that. And then it starts to perpetuate everything you do, whether it's your schoolwork, your job, eventually running for office,
yeah.
being in office. Like it becomes a part of who you are. And it has a snowball effect.
And what was dope about your campaign, you mentioned that, and I know we're gonna talk about that later. But what was dope about it was you brought that into your campaign, and it was like bringing mom into it because mom left you with that, those unspoken words and so many words. She left you with that, and you brought her on to the campaign, and she was like a campaign manager, and that was pretty dope, man. That was pretty dope.
Definitely the inspiration. I mean, obviously, get a little spiritual. Psalms 37:4 said, God will give you the desires of your heart. So the desire to run for office was there. But when I'm thinking about why do I want to improve things? Why do I think things can be better for me and people like me? And especially coming from how I grew up, like, and I ain't got into all my story yet, but some of the story, you like, okay, I've been real fortunate.
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of people who were living in the same, on Strictly Code next to me that didn't go to Bowdoin College, that didn't go to law school, who not at a law firm, who didn't get to, win an elected seat. So now I got added responsibility.
yeah.
And I believe I can handle that because of what she spoke to me back in '97.
One of the things that I've learned in moving up in life is they don't come with a manual. They don't come with a handbook, and so those type of elevations. You got to be ready for them. And I just don't believe God opens up those doors if we're not ready for those doors to be open. And so even with you moving up like you're doing, Psalms, you just quoted it in Psalms. Yes, that's exactly true. But also God, also He knows when we're ready. And so, you know, kudos to you on that. You're doing a phenomenal job. But go ahead. I don't want to keep cutting you off.
No, 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 absolutely, not a cutoff at all. And I was just saying, and kind of put a little bit of bow on it, is that I had that responsibility because how I grew up, and I knew, and I still know to this day that I'm not different. I promise I'm not different than the dude that was sitting next to me in the classroom in McClellan. I'm not. It's just, and it's exactly what you said. People started to open doors for Antwan that they weren't opening doors to the girl or the dude sitting next to me.
Mhm.
And that kind of was further motivation for me. So okay, now what can I do to change the situation where we opening more doors for more people?
Mhm.
Because Antoine's not special. This could have been anybody.
So you said something again about your lifestyle. Share a little bit about, because people, when they look at us and they see us as a success, they tend to think that we just had it all gravy. It was just all laid out. I shared my story, coming up in my childhood and all that, and what nothing. It was some gravy, but it was a lot of other stuff that went along with it.
No, man, wasn't like that at all. So growing up, before my mom passed, just to give you a little context, give the guys a little context, I went to six different elementary schools. You only in elementary for 7 years. I went to six different schools.
Hmm.
And that wasn't because I was a bad or a problem child. That was because our money. And when the rent went up, we went somewhere else where the rent wasn't as high. And because we was going somewhere because the rent wasn't as high, that meant I had to go to a different school. That meant that Antwan was a person that was in your classroom in April and you never saw him anymore because that's when the lease was up. So we just left. And I mean, so you go from six different schools. After my mom passed away. I live with my aunt and uncle. Big ups to them for bringing me and my sister in. I lived with them for 2 years. Moved in with my older sister for a year. My senior year of high school, I was living on my own. I was living at 8701 I-30 apartment 230, Spring Valley Apartments.
Spring Valley. Know all about Spring
What
Valley.
you know about Spring Valley? So I was in Spring Valley,
I was
12th grade,
I was homeless.
on my own, paying these bills,
Yeah, man.
going to school, working, playing ball, just thinking about better. And that's what it came to, just thinking about better. So it wasn't easy at any stretch of the time. I remember, I mean, just thinking, and this sounds crazy to say now, but I used to save up the quarters so I can have $10 so I can go get my hair cut. And I remember, Derek, and this is probably one of my happiest moments in life. I said, man, when I get a job, I'm gonna get my hair cut every week. Cause to me that meant I made it.
Yeah.
Right? I can spend $10 every week on a haircut.
You see, bro. Yeah, I know all about that. Mine was cereal.
Right.
I remember, going to the grocery store with moms, and we all had to get cornflakes. That's how I got that nickname in high school, cornflake.
Yeah.
The boys came over, the football players came over. That's what I was eating, and I was eating it because that's all we could afford.
Right.
Even when I walked in the grocery store and looked at the top shelf, and you could get them right there, little mate.
Right.
And they $4 a box. I was like,
right.
And some people gonna say $4 a box of cereal. I was like, bro, but my story, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was no way I was gonna pick up a box of Captain Crunch. And my mama had 5 kids. She would have slapped me into the middle of next week. So, I totally understand. So let me ask you this: what's your biggest? What's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
As a lawyer,
yeah,
and as a now politician, people don't tell you how much people depend on you. And I'm not running from that responsibility because it's part of the job and I embrace it. But you don't realize that there are people depending on you. I got clients calling me, whether it's a doctor, a dentist, or a corporation, and they say, Antwan, this happened. X, Y, and Z needs to happen. We need you to do it.
Go to work.
Right? When you run for office, I remember someone asking me, what does it feel like after the election victory? I said, man, it feels like responsibility. It feels like there was enough people in the city of Little Rock to say, Antwan, we think you can do something. Now you need to go do it.
And they want you to start after the day after you win.
Right. Yeah. I was like, well, I'm not in office until January.
I remember.
Like, I know I won yesterday.
Yeah. I remember when I got on the planning commission, when I was appointed by the mayor to sit on the planning commission, and I don't know how I got out because I hadn't told nobody, but I had got 4 or 5 text messages after it was announced that I was on there. I was like, "Oh, bro, I don't get on until January." Just you get all those texts, and that's because people are depending on you, and they do believe in us, and they believe in us to make great decisions and do the things that we need to do to
right. So, and again, not running from it, embracing it, but I didn't realize how much that was going to be. Was like people gonna call, and they're calling because they're saying, Antwan, we think you can do something about this situation. And I enjoy that, but I didn't realize it was going to be like that.
Right. So with that, then going back to manhood, going back to you starting everything off, what's one thing you wish you had known, or let's say what's one of your biggest failures as a man, and what did you learn from it? Manhood don't come with a manual.
No, it doesn't. And this one is and I'm so grateful that I'm not in that space anymore, Derek. But I used to be um I had a bad temperament. Now anybody who know me, like, my personality has been my personality for a long time. But I could go here or here.
Mhm.
You know, one day, Antwan, I'm the best thing since sliced bread, and everybody need to know it. Even though I still want the cocky type, but in my mind, that's what I was thinking, right? And then some days I was like, Antwan, man, you the worst dude ever. And I was fluctuating, and I didn't have that even keel. I didn't have level of temperament where I can just be consistent in everything I'm doing on a daily basis. Either I was great or I was horrible.
No
You know
in
what I'm saying? I be in class, and all of this come from comparing yourself to other dudes, right? Other people.
absolutely. Yeah.
I'll be in class and somebody teacher asks a question and somebody get it wrong, and I'm like, see, this brother, he don't know what he talking about. I know the answer, right? And then one day I'm in class, I raised my hand, and the teacher's like, Antwan, did you even read? I was like, see, I'm terrible. Or what about this one, D? What about this one?
Hey
You
man,
at the gym. You working out.
brother.
You look
Yeah.
around, be like,
No man.
I'm looking good in here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then the dude that work out 8 times a day come in. It was like, man, I need to be in the gym more.
Yeah. But I used to go to the opposite side of the gym. That way I didn't have to go to the
But
other.
things like that happen. And I remember in college, and this is a weird, silly story, but I'm in sociology class and we get our papers back. And I got an 83 on the paper. When I got my grade, I actually wasn't upset. I was like, 83. I know I really didn't do my best work, whatever. But then one of my teammates was in the class and he got a higher grade than me. And in my mind, he's not smarter than me. I walked out the classroom, punched the door. It was a glass door, shattered. And I remember walking back to my class. I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, you can't live like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was dating a girl at the time before my wife, and my wife know about this story, so I ain't put my business out there. But she helped me realize that you two,
Unstable.
and that's not the way to be.
Yeah. What would you do? What would you tell another guy that's dealing with that same thing? I mean, what are some of the key things they need to do to help eliminate that?
Well, the first thing we got to stop comparing ourselves. Like, your journey is your journey. And when you look at other people and you compare yourself, either you only got two options. Either you better than them or you worse than them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's easy to say. It's
It's hard to do.
hard to do with all the social media and all the
Right.
everything that we got now. Is I mean, you to not compare yourself is very hard, and I don't think that it's unhealthy. I think it's unhealthy to a certain extent.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If it's affecting the way it was affecting me, well, it was affecting my mindset. We're like, Antwan, you're not as good as this person, and then it's affecting how I think and feel about myself.
Yeah.
Or, Antwan, you better than that person, and it affect how I think and feel about myself. One of those things. I read a book called Man in the Mirror. It was a man's Bible study, and it talked about some of those temperament things,
Yeah.
and it talked a little bit about it in the book of Titus too. That's not a godly man. If you can't be even keel, if you can't be that type of person, then that's not who you're being called to be. Uh, but there are sometimes, comparison, competition can motivate you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
But when it gets to the point where it's changing your mentality and it's affecting everything else, then that's when it's too much.
I'm a believer that you can, you hear about the anger management and how to manage anger. I think you can get to a point to where you can just get rid of anger. Like why you just can't get rid of anger? Why you got to manage it? Because see, anything that I manage, I mean, I don't want to totally do away with. And some things you need to totally do away with.
Mm-hmm.
Anger is one of them. I feel like because you shouldn't get to a point, and we bad about this as men. to where we get to a point to where we just let things blow up because we've held it in for so long. We don't talk about it. Because talking
Right.
about it is make us weak, and I can't share that with my boy. I can't share that with the boys, or I can't even share it with my girl because she's gonna feel like I'm weak, and that's a stigma that we have been trained to accept. And my belief is, if I do away with, learn how to remove anger, I don't have to manage it. I can just do away with it and not let things get so uh, uh, that bad to where I don't talk about it, and it gets so bad that it gets out of control and it controls my emotions. So um, it's definitely something we as men we got to learn more of how to do that, how to control that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's and then it, like you said, it affects relationships.
Yeah,
With your girl, with your family, because you're not. There's things you're dealing with, and people asking you what's up, and you ain't never telling nobody what's up,
yeah,
and
all
then you
good,
just dealing with stuff.
good. And
Yeah.
then you
Hey, that's our favorite answer, right? How you, bro? How you doing, bro? I'm good.
good. What? And so my thing is, what does that mean? Tell me what you good about. What's good?
Right.
You know, and because again, we've trained ourselves to say certain things. How you doing? I'm fine. How you doing? I'm good. How you doing? Oh man, blessed and highly favored. All those little cliches we've learned to say those, but then we go home and we start doing drugs, or we get or we start doing alcohol. Just we find things to help us release that whatever that is that you just told your buddy you was good about. And so I've been able to just through my coaching, I've learned to change the way I ask questions, and now I ask guys, "How's your heart?" So when I ask you how your heart is, you can't lie to me if you don't want me to know. Now, if you really want me to know, then you'll tell me the truth. And a lot of what I found is, Twan, is when I ask how's the heart, then I have to make sure I have time to listen. But that ain't no,
No,
oh,
you can't ask somebody how's your heart when you see them at Walmart.
no, yeah, it ain't, that ain't no just brush by.
Right.
And so that's a thing that we as men definitely got to take time to do with our brothers that we're around constantly. You know, I had a good friend, uh, one of my good friends, and he was dealing with some major issues that I had no clue about because I wasn't asking the right question. I wasn't asking how's the heart. I was just asking, what's up with you? You good? I'm answering the question. You know what? You
Yeah.
good? What's up? You good? Yeah, I'm good. You never give them a chance to answer. So, uh, absolutely, man.
Man, it's interesting you say that, and I know we got some other issues to get to, but there was an article that came out, I don't know, September. It's been a few months ago, and I don't know if you shared it or I seen it but it was an article about guys and how the coronavirus make you really introspective of the relationships you had, because it's always easy to call your boy up and say, "Hey, meet me at Twin Peaks. Let's watch the game."
Yep.
And we have a few beers, we talk a little bit, we clown a little bit, and it
Mhm.
was a good time. Everybody go home,
Everybody go home.
and we ain't really got deep.
Nope.
But then when you can't go to the bar with your boys,
Yeah.
then what? Then the relationship is different now, right? Because we're not hanging out. So what we doing?
Yeah. Now the conversation about the marriage really now it comes up.
Right,
Sick of being around this house with this
right,
man, in the house with it. You know what I mean? When
right.
when we had that opportunity, and I was out, that used to be me, and I
No, I'm definitely not pointing the finger without pointing at myself.
don't know. I ain't saying you pointing it at
Yeah,
me. I'm just relating to it that that's how the conversations go around the fire pits, around the at the game, at even if they come to your house or my house or
yeah,
whoever house we go to, it's real shallow, and we don't
yeah.
want to get into that deep stuff. And then when we get that call that our boy committed suicide or this happened or the marriage or they get a divorce, getting a divorce, you ain't tell me nothing about that.
What? You like what happened?
You ain't take the
When
time.
I asked you how everything was going, you said you was good.
She was good, bro. He said he was good. So What advice would you give men wanting to pursue um, their dreams, wanting to pursue their dreams, their passion as a professional and as a politician?
Man, there's two things that come to mind when I think about things that kind of stuck with me through the process, and obviously, different situation call for you to react and handle things differently. But there have been kind of two common threads, and one was someone told me in undergrad. Um, her name is Miss TK, and she says, "Antwan, sleep does not make your dreams come true."
Hmm.
And I remember thinking, that's deep. And for a long time, I also think that meant that I didn't need sleep. Like
Yeah.
I didn't sleep a lot. Even to this day, I still don't sleep that much, but I sleep more now than I used to. But what that means is, man, you got to work.
Yeah.
You got to work. Um, just resting and kicking it and doing this all the time, that's not gonna help you reach your goal. Now, I'm not saying, I mean, I play as hard as anybody to play now. Don't get me wrong, but you do have to work. Sleep doesn't make your dreams come true. Work makes your dream come true. And then when the opportunity presents itself, you got to be prepared and ready for that opportunity. The other one, Derek, is from the best musician of all time, any genre, any era. Jay-Z said, people gonna look at you strange and say you change, like you worked that hard to stay the same. People gonna look at you strange and say you change,
Yeah, man.
like you worked that hard to stay the same. And in our culture, bro, in our culture, we have a thing about being who we were.
Mhm.
Like you from the hood, you got to be from the hood, right?
Yep.
Like you can't change. And I remember when I left, I went to Bowdoin College on my shoulder in Brunswick, Maine.
Yep.
And my greatest fear, it wasn't leaving McClellan and going to prestigious liberal arts school and not and failing out. I was scared I was gonna go up there and come back home and everybody was gonna be like, bro, you different.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That was my fear. I ain't want to be different. I want to be the same Antwan that grew up on 65th and Butler.
That was impossible to do. I tried it.
Yes. And I've tried it too. Now that doesn't mean you change the core of who you are and you
Yeah.
don't forget your experiences and you don't turn your back on family and friends that was with you or whatever. But people look at you strange and say you changed like you worked that hard to stay the same means that, man, I done did a lot in my life not to be who I was. I didn't go through all that to be the same person I was 5 years ago.
Why do you think brothers feel like that, T? Not, I mean, why not the person that left and then coming back? Why do you? Because there are some brothers that do throw that at you. That threw, man, he changed. He ain't the same. Why do you feel like brothers do that to other brothers?
Man, I wish I had a good answer for that, but I did see some on social media recently and said, you know, stereotypical stuff put on social media, but black people, the only people that will say you you wrong for doing better, right? Like you doing better and that's bad.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know what I really wish I had the answer for that, and it bothers me every step of the way. I mean, it's still anytime something happened in my life that somebody would call an achievement, I'm like, well, am I being different now?
Yeah. Now you got
If people gonna say Antoine acting different now, and I wish I knew what it was, but it's enough where it's permeated my thoughts enough
in
where I think about it a lot.
in so many words. Yeah, the answer is yes. I have changed. Everything that I learned helps me be different.
Yeah,
Everything that you learn help you be different. Everything that anyone learn, whether it's good or bad, it helps them to be a certain kind of way. Whether that's to be more cautious or to be more fearful or fearless. So, when people ask that question, yeah, I learned
Yeah,
something that's gonna change me. Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And again, I mean, why why spend the hours? I mean, we use sports metaphors all the time. Why spend the hours all in the gym if you didn't want your jump shot to get better? Why are you studying all night unless you was trying to get a degree? You know what I'm saying? Why are you taking all these classes unless you was trying to get the certificate to get the promotion? I mean, you're doing these things because you're trying to be different. You're trying to be different.
Yeah,
And I think at some point, like you said, we just need to embrace that. Yeah, that situation, those experiences have changed me, and hopefully change you for the better.
yeah, yeah. True that. True that. That's a great way to look at that. What are the best resources that have helped you along the way? You've mentioned a Man in the Mirror book. You've mentioned the Bible. So we know those two. What else?
I got to give a shout out to the Arkansas Commitment Program.
Okay.
Arkansas Commitment is a program for high achieving. I shouldn't even say that, for Black students in Little Rock and kind of all over Central Arkansas, but primarily Little Rock. And what the program does, it takes Black high school students and they do ACT prep, SAT prep, college essay, interview skills, internships, and ultimately exposure to different schools. So I don't end up at Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine without Arkansas commitment.
Gotcha.
So what it did, it showed me these schools, and to just be completely candid, I mean, some of these schools they dying to get people from Arkansas in the building. I mean, my school in Maine, they dying to get somebody from Arkansas in the building, and a black dude from Arkansas.
Okay.
So it gave me opportunity to expand my horizons. Like I got to see things and experience things and see things that I didn't know beforehand. Um, and I mean, I tell this story all the time. I mean, I grew up in Southwest. Like me and you who graduated from McClellan. Man, I didn't have a white person phone number in my phone when I graduated high school.
Correction, Antwan. I graduated from North Little Rock High, charging Wildcat for
No,
life.
you know what? That is a correction. I just
But I
assume
did
because your
live in
wife
South.
represents so well.
I lived in Southwest. I grew up in Southwest.
I know.
Went to North Little Rock though, so it was that M to M transfer. So that's why you probably feel like that. Yeah,
That I appreciate you correcting me, but because you were so McClellan and representing, you was at all the
yeah,
games.
yeah, yeah. And it's for the kids.
Right, right. So I'm glad you corrected. My bad. But me graduating from McClellan, I didn't even know any white people.
Mm.
I mean, I'm as McClellan you can be. You know what I'm saying? So being able just to have the experience to be able to navigate in all these different areas of life that I end up having to navigate in, Arkansas Commitment opened the doors to help me along that path. So I definitely will have to give a shout out to that program for helping me even get started on this path.
And that's. I'm glad you said that because I'm gonna definitely put that link in our in
Yeah,
our.
absolutely. So to the brothers who, if you got kids in high school or getting ready to approach high school, check out Arkansas Commitment. It's free. It don't cost you nothing. The program is there to help people grow in their academic achievement throughout high school. And no one made me go to Bowdoin. That was my call.
Gotcha.
But it gives you these opportunities, expose you to these different things, and I wouldn't be on this path without it.
And so it basically gives a brother options.
Absolutely.
I've always said, and I believe it till I die, a man with options is the man with power. The more options a man can give himself, the more power he has. You don't have more power. You don't have more power if you don't have more options. It doesn't go that way. You become more frustrated when you don't have more options. I've been on
Right.
both ends of that. So I've been the
Yep.
frustrated one and angry at everybody else that got more options. And I'm why? Because you got to make yourself you got to make yourself available, and you got to do the things that you got to do so you can gain more options, and then you get that power once you get those options. So I appreciate you sharing that. I didn't know anything about that, but
No, it's a great program, and before we move on, Derek. I'll be remiss if I didn't mention there's a huge financial benefit that's involved a lot into Arkansas Command program. So, I mean, I graduated college 15 years ago, but when I left McClellan, I went to Bowdoin College. It was
15
costing
years ago?
$40,000 a year.
15 years ago, though? That was a long time.
I
Dude,
know, bro. I graduated 15 years ago.
getting up there.
I am. Hey, real talk. I'm getting up there. I got to stretch more.
It don't
um,
seem like 15 years, though. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but even when I started, Bowdoin College cost $40,000 per year to go there. Now, you heard me talk about how I grew up, bro. I'm scraping up quarters to get a haircut. You know I ain't had no $40,000.
40 stacks.
But because of the program, I was able to get a full ride to go to Bowdoin. So I graduated Bowdoin with zero debt.
Whoa.
So those things make life easier on the back end. So anybody with kids, nephew, niece, whatever, check out Arkansas Commitment.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate you for giving that information. On when you think about manhood, again, we talked about it. Don't come with a manual. You having to step into that role as a young kid. I had to step in that role when I was a young kid. It's just a responsibility that you try to figure that out. What's one thing that you would debunk about manhood that you heard about manhood?
Man, this gonna make some of the bros real mad.
Hey, that's what it's real conversation, real men.
And the weird thing about this, and so let me give a little context. My mom and my dad were together until I was about 9 or 10, right? So I grew up with my dad in my house for a early age. They separate. My dad moves back down to Wilmont, Arkansas, where he still lives to this day. Then my mom passed away. I moved in with my uncle and my aunt for a couple years. So I get to see him being a man.
Okay.
Right. And then I move in with my sister and her husband. I get to see him being a man. Then I'm living by myself for a year. So I got to figure out how to be a man. And then when I was in college, in the summertime, I moved in with my best friend from high school and his parents. So I got to see him be a man. So I done had all these like a couple years of different manly figures to pull from. And I don't know, maybe I missed some. Maybe if I was around all them longer, I would have learned some other stuff that I kept missing. But what I'm getting at is I don't believe in like roles. Like you're a man, so you got this role. And I gave you that context because I don't know if that's because I kept seeing people at different points in my life. And if I was with them the whole time, I would have saw them fulfilled all those roles. But just because you're a man don't mean you got to do certain things. Or just because you're a man, you can't do other things.
Yeah.
And I give a classic example, and I'm telling you, this is gonna make the brothers mad. So one day I'm at the house, and my boy come over. He said he's gonna watch the game with me. And before we moved in this house, we had big trees in the front yard. And I told my wife, I said, "Look, I do a lot of things. I don't rake leaves. If we get in the house with some trees, either we're gonna have to make enough money to get somebody to come rake them, or you gonna be raking leaves." And she said, "I like this house. We get in the house with the trees." I said, "Okay." So my boy came over to my house and we getting ready to watch the game. And my wife is outside raking leaves. He walks in, he said, "Bro, you know your wife outside raking leaves?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "We about to sit here and watch the game while she raking leaves?" I said, "Man, my wife able-bodied. She can rake leaves." But on the same time, so let me flip it. I don't mind being the one that cook every day.
Yeah.
I can do it pretty good. Right?
I get it,
So
bro.
I'm just saying I don't believe in the traditional. You a man, you got to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
The best marriage advice I got in that regard is do what you're good at, and don't do things that's gonna make you upset at the other person.
Yeah.
So I let that go.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100% because when you start doing roles, then it starts to allow you to separate yourself in the marriage. And there are certain things that I don't do that my wife do, and there are certain things that she don't do that I do. And we don't do them because that's a man role. We just do them because she's better at it, or
Exactly.
I do it because I'm better at it. And so
Exactly.
totally get, it took a long time for me to understand that concept because when I would drive through communities being a real estate agent and I would see ladies out doing yard work on the riding lawnmowers, they'd be by themselves, just riding lawnmowers. And I was like, if she's interested in in the green thumb business and she's interested, maybe she gets her relief from doing yard work. For me, I do. I like gardening. I done got into that now, and so when I want to go out and just um, get some relief or just
You got the green thumb.
man, I'm getting that thing down packed. I started small. I started with some pots. I didn't want to dig my yard up and have
Look like you got gophers all in the front yard.
yeah. I didn't want to dig my backyard up.
Yeah.
Because I love landscaping and lawn care and all that kind of stuff. But to go along with what you were saying, yes, I agree with that. I agree with that.
And what I was realizing, and the reason why I say I share that because there was times where my wife would say, I want you to do that, and then I would do it, and then she was like, well, now you're mad. I was like, because I don't want to do that. And then we started having a conversation. Then eventually we started to realize, okay, if you do that, that's gonna put you're not gonna be happy. So why are we putting each other in situations that's gonna make us unhappy?
Yeah, yeah,
Because I'm trying to be a man,
yeah.
right?
Hello. And at the same time, that's what happens when you don't communicate it. If it's something that I don't like to do, then I should be able to communicate that to my wife.
Right.
And if there's something she don't like to do, she should be able to communicate that with me, and we not fall out. You know what I mean? It's just
Exactly.
so if neither one of us like doing it, then we've got to find somebody who we can pay to do it. Love to do it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Or hey, somebody we can't do it. Somebody needs to figure out a way to make a little more extra money,
Yeah,
so somebody else can do it.
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, so that's a good one. That's a good one because I just believe in. I tell my wife all the time, you need to know everything just about that I know of, especially when it's around the house. We don't have any children, so you need to know what a breaker box is. If I'm not at home and some go out, you can't sit at home and wait on me to get home.
Right.
You know, things with the car. You need to know what this is and that. Well, my wife don't need to know none of that. Well, hey, man, you different. I want my wife, yes, she gonna depend on me, but I also don't want her to be waiting around on me. If there's a leak in the house, she got to know how to turn the water valve off. She can't wait on
Right.
me. You gonna let the house flood? They said that's a man job. No, I don't tell her what nothing at because that's my job, bruh. I'm with you on that. I like that.
Yeah. I'm not about to try to be a man and have all these other issues. Likewise, around the house, you know, my wife, you buy this IKEA furniture or you buying stuff off Wayfair and it need to be put together. That's my wife ministry. She good at that. Why
Yeah.
am I getting in the way of that?
Little work.
Trying to be the man, trying to
Yeah.
fix a chair.
Yeah.
No, you fix it.
Yeah.
You put
That
it
ain't manhood.
together.
That is not manhood, brother. That is not manhood. Not being able to put no furniture together. Uh, that's a good one, man. That's a good one. That is that because we do get caught up in that.
Right.
There's some brothers right now that's got a hard relationship because they dealing with that and they don't want to just be truthful and honest about it. And
And some of it too, to keep it 100 for the fellas.
yeah,
And I had to share this with my wife too. Some of that is pressure that either our wife, girl put on us, society put on us. You know, this what the man's supposed to do. Or
Mhm.
my daddy fix all the pipes.
Yeah.
Why you can't fix no pipes? Well, I ain't your daddy.
Period. Point blank. I'm not. I'm not your father. Now, what I
Right.
can do is call a plumber. I can
Exactly.
call a plumber and let him, and I can pay him when he finished.
Right.
Get the job
Right.
done. Yeah, yeah. I get that. So we're almost done, man. But this podcast is for men. What would you say to encourage our brothers as we get ready to close this thing out? Who's listening to this podcast?
Man, and we talked about this kind of at the beginning, and this kind of the core who I am is the belief in myself. And when you have the belief in yourself, you set the tone.
Mhm.
And now this may be a manly thing, and they may say, "Oh, Antwan, you just said you ain't the man. Well, you know, don't try to fill the man role." But me, Antwan Phillips, my advice to man is that you get to set the tone in a lot of rooms you in. That don't mean you in charge of every room you in. That don't mean you sitting at the head of the table at your job, or you got to be, you know, domineering with your spouse. But you can set the tone, and that's how we communicate with one another. What we expect out of one another, whether it's at home, at work, with me, at the city boardroom. Set the tone for things to happen to progress, no matter what the relationship is, no matter what the room is. But you can set the tone, and you don't got to be in charge to set the tone. How you interact with people, how you communicate, the words you use, your tone, your body language, your belief in you, that can change the atmosphere. So when you walk into a room, are you setting the tone?
And you know, I love that because uh, growing up, I heard that when women walk in the room, they set the temperature, they set the tone. You know, that's their little cliche. I've heard
Right.
that about women set the tone. Brothers need to know that too, that they set the tone. And that's a great. That's a. I mean, that's excellent advice um, that we don't hear a lot because we just walk into a room. No matter if it's cold, we leave it
Right.
cold. If it's hot, we leave it hot. We don't understand that the power that we have when we walk into a room. But here's why I believe a lot of men don't believe that or don't understand it is because they're not prepared when they walk into the room. And so when you're not prepared, you're unsure. So if you're unsure, you don't know what temperature. What temperature do you bring in there? You bring in there unsure temperature, and you get
And then that goes what we're talking about otherwise. Then if you're not prepared and you aren't sure, you lack confidence, and then people they're not pulling their cues from you because you're not sure.
Mhm.
And again, that don't mean you come in there and you dominate the room and you yelling and you say this how things got to be, or if you don't do this, I'm gonna hit you upside your head. That's not what that meant. I mean, there's a lot of ways to set the tone, set the temperature in the room. Again, just by how you communicate, whether you listening, are we listening? Can we engage thoroughly with the people in the room? Are you prepared for whatever that temperature is in the room? But I think that's important. I think that's important. You got to be able to when you come in, people know. All right, when Derek come in the room, you know we talk a certain way, we think a certain way. The conversation gonna be a certain way.
Mhm.
Uh, but but just because he's there,
Yeah. And that's a confidence that you got to have, and nobody can give that to you.
right?
That's something that you got to know as a man that you do set that tone. That's good stuff. So here we go. My one word game. I'll say
All
one
right,
word.
this see, I like this. I
And
like this.
I didn't give it to you because I didn't want you to be thinking of an answer already. So let me know. You ready?
Okay, let me make sure I got the rules down. The one word game is you gonna say something first thing to pop in my head. Okay.
One word, that one thing that pop in your head when you hear the word. All right, let's go. Leadership.
Um, First thing coming to mind, leadership is we talked about earlier. Responsibility. Second word comes in relationships. I don't think you can be a leader without having relationships with people. People got to know that you care about them. You got their best interests at heart. Y'all see the world the same. Y'all see this job the same. Y'all see this relationship the same. I'm not gonna follow you unless I know you or at least know some extension of you.
Mhm.
So I would say responsibility and then relationships.
Husband.
Love.
Deep.
You know what to say in the Bible. We supposed to love the wife as Christ loved the church.
Yep.
Boy, that hey, and that's not easy.
Nope, it's not, and it's not on either side. I
No,
know.
it's not easy on either side, but I mean, just think about. And sometimes I get mad, and you be like, "Man, why she?" And then you like, "I supposed to love her the way God loved me." That's a lot. That is a lot.
That's why he said, "Count up the cost." You sure you want to do this? Pick up the cross if you want to do that. Now, but I need you to count it up though.
Right,
Listen
right.
to what I'm telling you. That's a good one. Love is a good one. Detroit Lions.
Unsure, bro. Can I open up? Can this be my therapy
Yeah.
session?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So real talk, real talk. I know we a little over time, but and you probably I'm probably about to give you more pleasure out of this conversation than you want.
Nah, you're not. I already know where your heart is. Go ahead.
So I didn't mention this, but about a year ago, I host a podcast, Rock the Culture,
Yep.
and we had someone on who's mental health professional, a counselor, therapist, and she was explaining all these things to us, and I was ignorant to therapy. Just because I grew up, I thought one, you got to have a bunch of money to go to therapy. That's what rich people do, or you got to be crazy, crazy, right? You got to have some super traumatic event to need therapy. And she explained to me that I was ignorant. So I started going to therapy. So I'm normalizing therapy. But in the middle of that, in the midst of my therapy, we started talking about things we hold on um, to show loyalty, even though we may not want to hold on to them things anymore. So she was giving me all these examples. I said, well, I got one. I did a Detroit Lions fan.
Come on.
And they ain't giving me no.
You've been to help a Dallas Cowboy fan. Come on. Come
Right.
on.
And I said, they've given me no reason to continue to be a fan. They've done nothing. And then they just traded Stafford. They just gave up. They hired this coach who said, I know you said one word. I got a bunch of words. They hired this coach. His press conference, he said he going to bite your kneecaps. And then you trade the best quarterback we ever had to get a quarterback that the other team didn't even want. They were bringing some rookie off the bench, and they had a quarterback controversy. And I'm like, why am I still a Lions fan?
Mm.
And she was telling me, you don't have to be. And I was like, I know. So right now, I'm unsure if I'm a Lions fan or not. I may be testing the free agent market
Okay.
for a new team. It won't be Green Bay though.
Hey, I'm just happy to know that you are able to move forward. I do not understand how a winner can continue to support a losing team. So when you tell
Fair. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna just take all that.
yeah,
Fair.
when you tell me, I know you are a winner, and so when I look at you and you support a team that has a losing legacy for years, and I'm not just talking about the Lions. I'm talking about any team like Lions football or baseball, basketball, a job, a career, Dallas Cowboys. I just don't understand how you stay on track that long. It's something.
I don't know either, Derek, and that's why I'm saying that the word is unsure.
Okay.
I want to say I want to have the gratification of it be 2023, and I'm like I'm the only Lions fan that stuck around, and now we won a Super Bowl. But
Yeah.
you know what? They ain't about to win no Super Bowl.
No, not in the next 2 or 3 years,
No, not at all.
unless they go get Tom Brady.
Well, even Tom Brady needed a bunch of stuff around him.
He did. He did. He came in with that, but that's we ain't gonna talk about Tom. We're not giving
Yeah,
him shout outs uh, on this podcast. Losing. Last word.
hate it,
Why?
hate it. Um, I'm a notoriously sore loser. Um, and I hate it so much. I hate losing more than I like winning. And when I started at the law firm, they was asking, what type of area of practice you want to be in. You can do wills in the states, you can do contractual work, labor and employment. I said, man, I want to be in the courtroom because I want to beat somebody.
Yeah, I want to look him right in the face.
Right. Right. That's what I want. So losing, man, hate it. But in the words of Jay-Z, uh, I will not lose because even in defeat, there's a valuable lesson learned. So it evens it up for me.
Yeah.
So when I do lose, it got to be a lesson in it. You can't just say I lost and you didn't learn from it. You're not better from it. That didn't change you, as we talked about earlier. But hate it.
I agree with that. I hate losing too, and but I also agree with you. There's lessons in losing, and I tell guys all the time the only reason that you should regret losing is when you don't when you don't learn a lesson from it. And I don't, and I tell them, I've shared this in my story. I don't regret the things that I've done or went through from the lessons that I learned. Now, if I didn't learn a lesson and I had to keep repeating it, then that's obviously on me. But
Right.
I don't regret my childhood. I don't regret my 1.8 cumulative grade point average that I barely made it through and scaled through. I don't regret all of that because I learned so much from it. So uh, dope. So we're done. We're wrapping up. Where can the listeners connect with you? You talked about your podcast. Share how we.
Absolutely. So host a podcast with old friend from high school, Charles Blake,
Right.
former state rep Charles Blake, um, chief of staff Charles Blake, called Rock the Culture. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. Our show is it's about all things Central Arkansas, all things Little Rock, all things the culture. And what we did in that podcast, Derek, was the idea was, there's a lot of news happening in our city and our state, but it wasn't from the perspective of people that look like us.
Yeah.
So what Blake and I did, try to take, current events, current news, and give it our perspective to share with the people. And then social media, I'm Antwan Phillips on everything. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok is
Oh,
Antwan Phillips on all platforms.
I didn't know that. I didn't know
You
you.
didn't know I was on TikTok?
Didn't know you was on TikTok. I'm on TikTok.
Well, I'm on there. I only did one video while I was trying to do the dance, and you remember you said I was getting up there, and that's when you realize you're getting up there when they doing dances and you try to do them and they don't look the same.
Epic fail for me. I just quit. I was like, God, I don't need to keep losing. There's so many dance moves, and I can't.
Hey, but hey, like you just said, it was a lesson in that. It was a lesson in that.
Absolutely. Not as loose as I used to be. That was the lesson. Bro, I appreciate you for taking time out of your evening, man, while we're snowed in tonight, to come on the podcast and talk to the men, bro. I appreciate
Man, again, I appreciate the initiative you took to start this, to have these conversations with guys to talk about being a man. I appreciate the work it takes on your end to keep the engagement going, at least on the social media. I see it all, and sometimes I see it and I don't respond. I just read it and I was like, now I got to deal with that. I got to think about that. So sometimes you influencing people more than you know, brother. That's what I want you to know.
Appreciate that. I know brothers don't like to write, so if we got to read something and then down. So I've learned that in the social media business, we as men we respond to A, B, C, or when I
we'll do a poll now. We'll do a poll.
Poll all day. I'm my highest polls are my highest numbers.
Like B. Yep.
Yeah. Plain and simple. That's just something I had to learn when dealing with the men.
Right. But for real, man, I appreciate you. Obviously, appreciate you reaching out to me. I'm glad it worked out for the timing and you using the virtual platform to make it easy and safe for us to do. So I'm happy I was happy to be a part of it.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Again, can you tell us when do the podcast air? Do y'all go live on the podcast? What day?
We do not. So we do our podcast every other week. We record on Sundays. They're released on the following Tuesday. Speaking of being a man, so we were supposed to record this Sunday. And then I had to hit up my guys. I said, bro, I forgot it was Valentine's Day. Yeah. We're not recording today.
Y'all can.
Yeah, I said I ain't about to start no problems over here to go record this podcast on Valentine's Day.
It ain't that serious.
we'll be back next week.
And if they don't understand that, then they not married.
Right.
Well, man, have a good night, man. I appreciate you. Tell the wife we said hello.
And, absolutely. And you do the same with yours. And we'll be talking soon.
Will do, man.